Hello and welcome back. Today I want to talk about my Medion retro PC. Now excuse the mess in the background, right now I'm kind of limited on space as to where I can film, but I really wanted to talk about this computer and showcase the case because it's quite interesting. And in this video I'm going to be performing a downgrade to this computer. However, I mean that's kind of unusual to do a downgrade on a machine, but there's a good reason for that. But first, let's look into a bit of a history when it comes to this computer. This computer is from around 2001, I would say, maybe 2002. And it is branded Medion, which is Aldi's own PC brand. They sold these computers in Aldi in Germany and Austria. And generally, they are very, very well built when it comes to the case quality and when it comes to the components inside. Not so much so the performance of things, but more the quality of capacitors and such. So Medion is sort of a supermarket brand computer, but it's a very interesting one. It's not like the other ones. It's not as cheaply and crappily built. This case is very, very thick and super well isolated. The first time I heard about this computer was actually in some kind of a brochure or catalog of some sorts for Aldi, and this computer was on the spotlight, shown proudly on the first page, and I thought, hey, this looks kind of cool. But I always liked looking at computers in old uh, supermarket brochures and stuff. But I really, really liked the case design. The power button is sort of a silver globe. It looks really nice. And generally, I like the aesthetics of the front panel. I think it looks great. I didn't think I would ever find this computer, but somehow it just showed up at the local junk store for I have no idea how much because this was over 10 years ago, so I don't remember many details anymore. But let's say around $10 or so, I think I would have paid for this. And I just knew I had to have it because I recognized the case and I was like, yes, let's get it. And I'm very glad I did. We got a Pentium 4 sticker and a Windows XP sticker. So naturally, this computer would be designed for Windows XP, so around 2001 and 2002-ish. But the hardware inside does have some limitations. When I saw it in the magazine, I believe they advertised it with about a 1.8 gigahertz Pentium 4 and perhaps 256 megabytes of RAM, maybe. I'm not quite sure. And I believe it would have come with a GeForce 2 video card or something like that. When I got it, it came with a power supply that was facing the wrong way around. This case actually allows you to mount power supplies either way. It has the screw holes for each orientation. But for some reason, the previous owner mounted the power supply with the fan facing the top of the case. So that was a bit unusual. But I suppose power supplies with a big 12 centimeter fan on the bottom were kind of new, and some people may not have been able to figure out how to use them. But anyways, the power supply did end up working fine for the most part. However, I have replaced it since. And my computer came with a 1.8 Pentium 4 Willamette, unfortunately. That's a Pentium 4 you don't want. You kind of want to avoid that. I believe maybe 256 or 512 megabytes of RAM. Now, the thing about this computer is that it has SDR RAM, single data rate. No DDR, that only came later. Because Intel was still pushing Rambus, and the only other option not to use Rambus was to use SDR RAM. So we have PC 133 megahertz memory in this, and honestly, it's not a huge issue. I think there are some games that would definitely benefit from DDR, but for the most part, it works well enough. But it's a fairly low frequency Pentium 4, so that's not great. It's almost about as fast as a fast Pentium 3, and it's 180 nanometers. So I wanted to get rid of that. I didn't want any of that. Back in the day, my computer had a Willamette Celeron, which is probably the worst CPU in existence. The video card, I don't remember what was in it. I believe it was either a TNT2 M64 or maybe an ATI Rage 128. I think. I'm not sure because, like I said, this was over 10 years ago now that I picked this up, maybe even 15 years ago that I picked up this computer. So I don't remember what video card it came with anymore. However, like I said, the listing on the brochure of Aldi, I think it mentioned something like a GeForce 2 video card. Now also this computer comes with a lot of multimedia features, which is very common for Medion, and it did come with a couple S-video and composite and FireWire and USB and audio ports. It does have a built-in capture card. It's not in there right now because it's being used as a 9X machine and I don't want no conflicts. But yeah, it was sort of multimedia oriented. Medion was always going for that. And for that, Windows XP would actually be better, but I did end up turning it into a Windows 98 machine. In fact, for a while, this was my Windows Millennium PC. So I didn't really know what to put in there, but I did want to get rid of the Willamette, so I ended up putting in a Celeron 2.4, because that's kind of the only thing I had that would really fit it well. Now, you know, the Willamette Pentium 4 is a 400 MHz FSB CPU, the Celeron is as well, and so I thought it would fit quite well. If I put a 533 MHz FSB CPU in there, it would have been underclocked. However, that was actually until I have discovered that there is a hidden secret overclocking utility in this computer, which is very unusual for an OEM PC. But you can enter a password, you can tap I believe the F1 key, and then enter a specific password that unlocks hidden BIOS features, and it lets you overclock the CPU. The odd thing about it is that it has the usual overclocking settings. However, it brings up all the frequencies all at once, so like brings up the AGP, PCI, and frontside bus frequencies all at once. However, none of those settings would actually work. The only two settings that would work are FSB 400 and FSB 533. So that's kind of unusual, but at least it is some overclocking. So if your CPU can deliver it, then you can run your 400 MHz FSB CPU at 533. That is the only setting that will work. And that will also not overclock the AGP and PCI frequency, so that's quite nice. It will work much better. So I ended up running the 2.4 Celeron at 3.2, and then later I thought it was good enough, but then some games were struggling. I was under the impression it was because of the SDR RAM. However, it turned out it was definitely the Celeron, since it has much slower cache, less cache and slower cache. So when I compared it to a Pentium 4 2.8, which I made a video on, I just put in the 2.8 and then I've overclocked it from 400 to 533 so it would run at the normal 2.8 GHz speed. It was way faster. It was an amazing uplift, so I was very happy with that upgrade. And finally, the Pentium 4 badge was actually correct. However, weirdly enough, the Celeron was also being detected as a Pentium 4, so I'm assuming the BIOS is a little bit limited and it cannot differentiate Celeron from Pentium 4. Now, the video card in the machine was actually a older ATI Radeon 9000, and this machine was working great for a while. I was planning on upgrading the video card to a 9600 Pro, so it would have shader model 2.0, DirectX 9 support, but I just have so many computers with that same video card. At that time I had like 2 other computers, I think, with Radeon 9600 Pros. I just didn't want another one. But things took an interesting turn because a couple of months ago, there was a big storm, and I think this computer was hooked up, and there were electricity power fluctuations, the voltages were jumping up and down, and since the computer was plugged in, something must have happened. I think that was probably what caused it, but essentially the computer wouldn't turn on anymore. So I thought, well, okay, what's going on? Is the power supply bad? Is the motherboard bad? Something broke? So I started testing a lot of things, stripped down the whole computer, got to the point where I removed the motherboard, and I was just like, okay, well, I guess this is gone. The motherboard is dead. I won't do anything. I won't be able to do anything about it. That's until I took off the CPU cooler, replaced the CPU, and the computer turned on. So somehow the CPU died in this machine. So this had the 2.8 Pentium 4 that I did make a video on as well. And the CPU just doesn't work anymore. I tried the CPU in a different motherboard, didn't work. Tried the different CPU in this motherboard, worked just fine. So I guess time to reassemble it. So I put it back together. And at that point, I don't have a CPU to put in. I don't have the right CPU. I only have Prescott's. I don't really have any like Northwoods I want to put in there. I have a 3.06 Northwood, but that would be a little bit overkill. You know, the first hyper-threading CPU, 3.06 Pentium 4 Northwood, that would have a 533 FSB, and that would work in this machine, but it's just kind of an overkill with SDR RAM. So that's when I decided I'm going to downgrade this machine. Let's go backwards a little bit. So I'm gonna kind of go back to a similar spec to how this would have come from the factory, and I think that makes sense. It's more fittings for it as well, seeing as how it's SDR, and it will still perform pretty well, I would say. So right now, from another project, remember when I overclocked the 2.4 gigahertz Pentium 4? Well, eventually originally I was trying to overclock it to 2 gigahertz Pentium 4 Northwood, the first one that would be a Northwood, the slowest Northwood, I believe, or maybe one of the slowest Northwoods. But that didn't work out because it didn't have the right stepping for the CPU. So I decided I still have that 2.0 gigahertz or 2.0A Pentium 4, slapped it in here. So now that is actually very close to what it had originally. And it's a Northwood CPU, so it's not going to overheat as much. So we went from 1.8 to 2, and we doubled the cache. That's a nice little upgrade over the original CPU. And that is something that it would roughly have had back in the day. And I was also curious to see just how well does a 2 GHz Pentium 4 do. And because I never really used anything like that before. The slowest Pentium 4 I would have used was maybe 2.4 gigahertz, not 2 gigahertz. This one I would not be able to overclock because it doesn't run stably at 2.66, so I wouldn't be able to do the little hack of setting the FSB to 533. So we're stuck at 2000 megahertz and 400 megahertz FSB, but that's perfectly fine. Memory is still set to 133 megahertz because there's a multiplier you can use for that. And now it comes to the video card. What kind of video card should I put in there? Because I don't want to keep the original video card. However, it's a very nice card, but I wanted to try something else because I have too many ATI machines. So I went with Nvidia. So for now, it has my old FX 5200 in there. That is in very rough shape, not really nice to look at, to be honest. But it is what I put in there. And we're going to take a look at it. See how the computer does. And we'll see if we need to do any modifications. Just listen to the side panel. Absolutely unbelievable. Very well built. I mean, this is probably the thickest and heaviest side panel I've had on any of my computers. So this is the FX 5200. It had some caps replaced on it at some point. I have an AMD cooler, of course, on top of the Pentium 4. Because why not? This is actually my old heatsink from my first computer, I think. Not a great one, but it works. It's being cooled by this AMD CPU cooler. This is actually a very good thing that this case is so well insulated or isolated sound-wise, because I could use this hard drive. This is an IBM DeskStar, and it's one of those older ones that doesn't have the right bearing to make it quiet, so it's insanely loud. But putting this case together, you can barely hear the hard drive. You can hear it, but it's not annoyingly loud, unlike in every other computer I tried it in, so that's great. And we have a 200 watt power supply, which doesn't sound like a lot for a Pentium 4, but this is a very good quality power supply. It's an old OEM stuff. It's very heavy. Like for 200 watts, it's insanely heavy. So this is definitely more than enough for this machine. No capacitor plate crap going on in here because they've actually used decent quality capacitors in this machine. And yeah, we have a DVD drive in there. I think the CD drive doesn't work. I don't even have it hooked up. It's just kind of filling the blanks. And yeah, the sound, there's no sound card, you might notice. The blue connector is for the capture card that it comes with. The idea is that we have an onboard C-Media sound card, which does have some DOS support, and I've been using that several times. I've played through a couple games on it. It works great for the most part. Like most games will work fine with it. Some games don't, but that's just how it goes. It's old school DOS sound emulation. All right, so this is what's in there. We got 2 sticks of 256 megabyte RAM. I think you could probably put 1 gigabyte in there, but you can't do more than 512 anyways without patches in Windows 9X. So this used to have Windows Millennium on it for several years, and it worked great. But I went back to 98 because now I have another Windows Millennium PC. I only need 1 Millennium PC. I don't need more than that. And so let's take a look at some gameplay bits, see how well this computer is doing. So CPU has become a bit slower, but that might not be that big of a deal, honestly. It's probably fine. Because this computer is kind of limited by the memory speed anyways.
FSB is also down to 400. This is impossible to overclock this CPU because this is the CPU I bought for that project a while ago when I was overclocking Pentium 4s. Because I was thinking, oh, I'm just gonna fucking overclock this, and then it's gonna be all fast, high FSB speed, but it's a very early Pentium 4 Northwood, so it couldn't overclock it, so whatever, it didn't work out. Ended up going with a different CPU, so I just had the CPU laying around and chucked it in there, so whatever, at least I got a use for it now. It's not the fastest thing, but it's gonna be good enough. It's probably equal to like a 1.5 gigahertz Pentium 3 maybe. And I also changed out the video card as well. Used to have an ATI Medion 9000. Now it's got a Geforce FX 5200 because I just had it laying around and I was like, I kind of want to use this, so I did. But yeah, this PC is not working, weirdly enough, after swapping out the CPU of all things. I don't know, it's fucking weird. I might try a lower resolution. I want to see, like, are we CPU limited or GPU limited? So this computer went from being a 2.8 gigahertz Pentium 4 with a Radeon 9000 to a 2 gigahertz Pentium 4 with a FX 5200. The CPU just cooked. I don't know. It just died. I don't know why. I've never seen a dead CPU before. So I thought it was the motherboard, but then no. I ejected the CPU, put in a different one, and then it started working again. Which is weird, because, yeah. It was like right after a storm as well, so the power went out a couple of times, and I think the PC might have been plugged in, so maybe something happened there. I think potentially the power supply killed the CPU somehow while it was off. It was really weird. So yeah, I have a dead Pentium 4 2.8 gigahertz that I can't use anymore, so we're downgraded to 2 gigahertz on here. Yeah, I mean, that's the same power supply. I don't know how the CPU just died while the computer was off, but it did. I don't know why, but like a couple weeks ago, I was just checking to see something on this computer. Maybe I wanted to reinstall it, I can't remember. And it just wasn't turning on, it wasn't booting at all. And I tried memory, I tried video card, nothing. So I just decided to dig out the motherboard out of the case, of course. And then as a last ditch effort, I tried a different CPU, and then that worked. I'm like, what the fuck? So it was the CPU, the dead 2.8 GHz CPU, just out of the blue, just dead. I don't know, never seen anything like that before, so. Yeah, everything else in the PC is still working. Just the CPU was dead, which is really confusing. How only the CPU can die, and everything else is fine. I tried the CPU in a different motherboard as well, it didn't turn on either. So yeah, the CPU is dead. There's no damage on it or anything, it's just cooked. Probably shorted out or something, I don't know. I think it didn't even get hot, I think it doesn't even get warm. Or does it get warm? I can't remember. It's been a while since I tested it. I think it might get warm, but doesn't turn on, I think. I'm not sure. It's been a while. So I had this 2 GHz Pentium 4 laying around from an older project that I didn't end up using it. And, because I was thinking, you know, this is kind of a limited system. This is one of my favorite old PCs, actually, that I have. I wanted to do a webcam, but my phone is discharged. I might plug it in a second. It should be charged by now. So we're getting like 30, 40 FPS, not great. This PC used to get more than that, I think. Obviously faster CPU, faster... I don't know about the video card, if it was faster or not. I think maybe a little bit. The FX 5200 isn't really the best video card, I just had it laying around, and since I downgraded the CPU, I decided to kind of downgrade the video card in a way. It's also an upgrade because this does DirectX 9, whereas the previous video card was only DirectX 8.1. Can't see. Can't see. Can't see. Now I can see. And you can't see. That's great. Oh wow, okay. It's running way faster. So it is the... Is it the video card limiting us then? Oh my god, are you serious? It's FX 5200 is kind of worse than I'd imagined. Should I put a different video card in here? I don't know. I didn't think 5200 would limit the 2 GHz Pentium core, but it clearly is limiting it. I also have an FX 5500 I could try, maybe, I guess. I don't know. I might. Or I could just shove in a Radeon 9600 and call it a day. I got like 4 of those. But I have too many Radeon 9006. I don't want like... The reason I'm also kind of going different vendor here is because I don't want like 6 million fucking Pentium 4s with a Radeon 9600, you know, like what's the point? I wanted something different, so that's why I put in the FX 5200. I mean, maybe it's fine, I don't know, like... I kinda wanted to use this card anyway. This is shitty 64-bit memory bus, so, you know, it's the shitty FX 5200, of course. I could try overclocking the memory, I guess, but... And yet again, I can't see anything. Let's try 640 by 480, although that might not work on this monitor, so I might have to play on the fucking capture. Why is it like sparkling as well? It's really weird. .640 by 480. Let's try that. Schwarzwald. That's one of the more demanding. I think that's like one of the most demanding tracks. Okay, is it working? It's not. I can't see. Okay, so I can't play like this. 640 by 480 is just not working on the monitor. I don't know why. I've even limited it to like 30 FPS. Sorry, 60 hertz, and it doesn't work. I don't know why. I could try 720 by whatever the fuck. I don't understand why this resolution isn't working. It's fucking weird. 720 by 480, let's try that one. Just want to see if we can get more FPS if we lower the frame rate. Well, I mean, I still can't see anything on my fucking monitor though, but it's not sparkly anymore, so that's good. Why can't I see anything on the monitor? Hello?
3, 2,
the monitor's just like
1,
blank.
Go!
But the signal seems better now, so why the fuck? I'm thinking of replacing the HDMI splitter I'm using for now. Playing through the capture card isn't really ideal. It's not running much better, but this is a very CPU killer level, so... Definitely a heavy level. This one is the most demanding in the game, I think. Yeah, we're not really getting like much better frame rates, so I think at that point we're probably CPU limited. We're dipping down to like the 30s. I think this is the level from the demo. No, wait, that was Oxford Road.
Racing, start your engine. Go!
There's also a Dutch version of this Westphalen. There's a A2 Racer. Have you ever played that one? Although that was probably before your time, like 1999. A2 Racer Netherlands. Rotterdam Racer. Hello and welcome back to the channel. It's awesome that you're tuning in. In today's video, we're going to take a look and let's say an Dutch racer. Wait a second, this is the first game. Is it? Wait, I'm confused. No, this is the second game. Okay, never mind. Is it? I'm really confused right now. No, I think this is it. It is really confusing because there's so many fucking games that they made. Look at this. Volkswagen. I mean, what the fuck? Volkswagen. And then we have BVM. Porsche. Mercedes. Oh yeah, you would never figure that one out. Lamborghini. Opel Astra. Here you can even cope if you want to. If you want to cope with this game, you click on Copen. I want to buy the Astra, maybe. Acceleratie, remmen, wegliggen, wegliggen. I can literally get every upgrade for it right away. Opties, ID card, 3D card. 3D card. That's probably how you say it. I keep thinking it's German because I'm stupid. Okay, and then Start. Oh, you can only do a championship. Amsterdam. That's not even the same Opel. What the fuck? That was the previous generation Astra. Probably from the first game. That's why I was confused, because the menu is literally the same as the first A2 racer, I think. Or maybe the first Autobahn racer. And then it's a completely different car. Alright. Oh, this runs not very well. There's no music, because I think the CD isn't being read. The speed is way more. Like, we're going way faster than the Autobahn racer game. Oh my god, it's kind of stuttery though, like it's not running as well. Hey. Look at the skybox. Oh my god, it's gonna make me dizzy. This is what Amsterdam looks like, right? You can confirm. You can't even hear what they're saying, it's so quiet. I like the word for speed. It's just speediness. Your speediness. Wait, how many laps? Oh, 2 laps, okay. The car is about to break. This is more difficult than Autobahn Racer for sure. Jesus, this is hard. Oh my god, listen to the siren. Ugh. This game is crazy. Oops, and it's over. Dude, oh, I'm second actually, hold on. Fuck. I need to repair this car like right now, please. Aye, 94%. No! Fuck.
Dit is het hoofdmenu. In dit menu kunt u uw status bekijken. In het grote menuvenster kunt u lezen hoeveel geld u in kas heeft. Er is te zien hoeveel schade u heeft opgelopen en in welk type auto u momenteel race. Hier ziet u de route van de volgende etappe. Hier ziet u de instellingen voor de besturing. Bijvoorbeeld het toetsenbord. U kunt de besturingsinstellingen wijzigen door de knop Besturing aan te klikken. Hier start u de race. Door de werkplaatsknop te kiezen kunt u de door u geselecteerde auto opvoeren of een nieuwe aanschaffen. Hiermee kunt u de besturingsinstellingen wijzigen. Hier kunt u het volume van effecten en muziek instellen. Ook kunt u de moeilijkheidsgraad bepalen en de grafische weergave veranderen. Hier ziet u de ranglijst en de resultaten per afzonderlijke etappe. Hier selecteert u een spel. Hier kiest u ervoor om het spel af te sluiten. Het spel wordt afgesloten als u deze keuze heeft bevestigd.
He didn't say anything about saving, so I guess you just maybe it auto saves. I guess. But yeah, I don't know why the fucking 5200 is just not working properly in 640 by 480. I'll probably replace it with my maybe the FX 5500 or some other card. I'll look around what I have. I was actually having the same issue, but even worse on my monitor. Like, my monitor would just keep blanking out. I couldn't see anything. I couldn't play at all, so I had to hook it up to VGA on the output, which doesn't suffer from the same issue, at least.
Alright, so something's wrong with this Geforce FX 5200. So I'm going to take it out. For whatever reason, when I'm trying to use this card in 640 by 480, it has issues. Not through VGA, however. So through VGA it's fine. It's only the DVI port that is struggling. It's kind of a jank one with a extra fan connected to a Molex connector and whatnot, but it's a bit of an older card. It's been recapped, a bit dodgy. I'm just gonna take it out of here for now. I don't think I want to go with this card in this PC, because there are a lot of games that are 640 by 480. Or, you know, they use a 640 by 480 menu, and it's just a problem. For some reason, the DVI output is just flaky. It has artifacting, and it just goes out sometimes. Just monitor goes off and stuff like that. So I have to use VGA. And I have to use VGA, then I might as well just use a different card. And I have two options here. I have this here, a Geforce 4 MX440. Which is basically a Geforce 2 MX400, 64 megabytes, I believe. And then I have an actual Geforce 2. This is a Geforce 2 MX400, 32 megabyte card. And I never get to use this card, so I think I'm going to use this one. This one only has VGA, but this one will take older drivers than this, which is probably beneficial for the CPU as well, since our CPU isn't really the fastest, so I'm going to go with this card. It doesn't have, you know, the composite and S-video output that card has, but that's fine. I won't be using those, probably, for now. Maybe in the future. Foreshadowing. I was tempted to use a green PCB card in here, but, it's fine. This card is more closer to what you would get in this machine anyways. I know this is the Inno 3D, not an OEM Medion card, but this will do. The only green cards I have are either really old or a Radeon 9600, and I don't want any other 9600s for now. So yeah, Geforce 2 MX400 with a low-end Pentium 4. I think this is a good combination. I am going to have to use a digitizer, unfortunately, and convert VGA to DVI for my capture, but that's alright. I'm not really playing many DOS games on this machine. It's really DOS is why I absolutely have to have DVI, because it's just much easier to capture DVI for DOS games. You know, 320 by 200 is kind of an odd resolution, and with VGA it's a bit of a problem because I usually just like to digitize it. I don't like to upscale it. I just use my capture card's built-in scaler. So, you know, for VGA I would have to use a scaler to be able to capture DOS games. But like I said, this is mostly a Windows game machine anyways. I got plenty DOS machines. So I wanted to make this a single video, but unfortunately it's not going to work out. Not only is the video getting a little long, but also I cannot import the next recording into my editing software for some reason. Maybe because it's an 8-hour long full stream recording, and it just doesn't want to take it anymore. I've got too much stuff in there as it is. So I'm going to have to split it into 2 parts where we can take a look at how the new video card is doing in this machine. Thank you for watching, and I hope you join me for the next part of this video.